Hello, everybody. How's it going? This is your boy Leon LeGray back with another podcast. And here we are on episode 191 of the Leon LeGray podcast. And I'm happy to get going and get this launched. And today it is Sunday, April 16th. And I'm sure by the time you are listening to this, it'll probably be Monday, April 17th. Who knows? And do apologize for the late recording. Just had to write some things down for and take notes of episode 191. Now, I will go on and furthermore say that I will have to end up re-upload my podcast since it didn't. Looks like the episodes didn't fully integrate with Simplecast, unfortunately. But I think it's be good to go through and go over a couple of things in my podcast and just do all the uploads from there. But I have most of it on my desktop. But thankfully, I still have it on my computer, so I'll have to look up and check in to see if all my files are still intact and still in orderly shape, since I know my big CPU has been stuck on the storage unit for several months now. And I figured it'll be a really good time to do that and check up my PC, since it's been sitting and stalling for so long. But anyways, today's episode I'm going to be going over and continue talking about GPT. That's one of the topics which I know it seems to be a very big popular trend right now. And in this episode, on episode 191, it's not all about ChatGPT. It is pretty much on a particular country, and I'm sure that you guys may not guess what I'm going to be talking about. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about El Salvador. All eyes on El Salvador, country's home of Bitcoin. And I'm sure a lot of you guys may not have expected this, but I think it's going to be a good time to talk about this in today's episode, because I think it is really important, especially not just on cryptocurrencies, because since I know I love talking about cryptocurrencies, but it is officially the home of Bitcoin, and especially with a country once corrupt, now has changed over time, and for good reasons. There's a lot of eyes, a lot of Bitcoin hodlers, and a lot of people looking for a more friendly country for freedom, and a lot more traveling options over there too. But we're definitely going to talk about El Salvador, and we're going to get right into it in today's episode. First is first, we're going to talk about sponsors and then get right into today's episode, starting with ChatGPT. And today's sponsors, we're going to go and start off with Zennies. Zenni, Zennies Optical. So if you guys not heard about Zennies, oh, you should have known already, because I've been talking about Zennies for some time. And if you guys don't know, I've worked on the computer for so long that you gotta have to have a break on the computer once in a good while, or even if you're not on the computer, if you're, like, let's say on your phone, you have to take a break. You can't be staring at the screen all the time. And the truth be told, you just can't. Because with the illuminating blue lights that you get hit all the time, you've just got to be aware that it's something you gotta be sure and protect yourself from the dangerous blue lights that will emit all the time. So please be aware of that too. So also, if you do want to go ahead and protect your eyes, go ahead and click down the link down below and check out some Zennies. What are you waiting for? Then next on the list, it is ExpressVPN. Now, if you live in a country, let's say the United States, but however you can't catch Netflix on, let's say, in a certain country from a different language or whatever, right? Or if you're trying to get through a certain websites you can't get through because of censorship or anything of that matter, that you can't go through their website whatsoever, ExpressVPN does a really good job of doing that too. Because I've used ExpressVPNs and I've used VPNs in the past, and they do work really good. Now, I will say with ExpressVPNs, it's really highly rated. I've used it before in the past, during a trip a long time ago, and I will say for certain that it is the to go VPN to use. And if you want to, go ahead and give VPN a try using the link down in the description below. So check it out, and you will not be disappointed. Okay, now we're going to get right down to Chat GPT. And since now I'm done with sponsorships of today's show, I wanted to go ahead and bring something up with Chat GPT. So coming up on top of my head, what I think about the whole Chat GPT thing, especially I think there's a lot of good sides of the Chat GPT, and then other ones are going to be good and bad sides of Chat GPT or OpenAI. Now, one thing I think, as you guys know, and I'm sure that plenty of people know that it is definitely something that this is something that for me and my experience, I think ChatGPT will have some positive effects on what we use the ChatGPT for, and especially you. Of course, everybody will know one thing that when it comes to innovations, there's going to be positives and negatives with anything else. And I do think that ChatGPT will definitely probably surpass Google, I'd say at some point down the road, but it's not going to be a replacement for being your teacher, okay? Because I will go out and say this, and not afraid to say this, but I do believe that you still need guidance and teaching, for especially for younger students, and especially you got big institutes like MIT defending on ChatGPT. Now, whatever you want to put it this way too, and to continue forth on my last episode, on episode 190, because for one, there's so much happening all at once, so fast that there's no way to keep up with what's new in the trends. I really think that when it comes down to ChatGPT, you gotta be prepared. And I know there's gonna be people are gonna be against the AI for certain reasons. I can see why they're gonna end up declining, having to sign up and registering it. But one thing I do find, there's gonna be a lot of mixed things. For one, is that if you're gonna use ChatGPT, you have to be aware of the information you're going to end up receiving, because let's just say, for instance, that ChatGPT gets compromised and somebody modifies the code on ChatGPT or does something to make do tons of favors on its own and start setting up its own truth. Now, I do think that's going to stir a lot of problems, because a lot of people just don't trust AI as a technology. Because for one, yeah, everybody has to understand AI stands for artificial intelligence. Doesn't stand for human intelligence. Artificial intelligence is coming from machines that are doing the work, grabbing and receiving the information for you. So that's one right there. You'll have to take note, especially with so much happening in the tech world. And I'm not gonna go out on the limb and start bashing ChatGPT. I really don't want to start being the old boomer or that are bashing young kids on that too. I don't. But for me, I do think that everybody should be aware of the technologies that's going to happen. Now, one thing I can say with ChatGPT, now I don't even know if it's going to have any link or influences, especially with growing AI bots like the Tesla bot. And I know the Tesla bot, it just show where this is going to go in the future. And you got other bots that are being produced and made by other parts of the countries. For instance, I do think I do think there are going to be good things that can do for assisting other people, especially with older senior citizens that can't do things that they used to do, which I think there's going to be probably some net positives to it. But the negative side is the human connection, where it comes down to, especially with caretaking and doing groceries and things like that too. I think there's going to be parts of the human elements are still going to stay around, and some of it are not going to be around. I do think that I do think there are positives for the future, but scary enough, it's going to be a scary time for the human experience because here's my take on chat, GPT or the bots going forward. Like the bots, however, I'm not sure that it's gonna be a big involvement going forward so fast for assistant bots. Assistant bots can only do so much. That can only do so much until it self destructs. Because I know that these things or the assistant bots are not ready to do things like what humans could do right now too. And now I'm probably will go out on a limb and say probably within 20 to 30 years because the way things are going and the way these tech giants can start creating things that it's beyond our wireless control can simply make these bots and do whatever they you can do whatever that you tell them to and they'll do exactly that. Now that's what the one thing I can say with those bots are really going to be there for. I mean, it's going to get smarter, no doubt about it, no question on that. I just think there it's going to be a point that if AI intends to get a bit smarter, let's just say, I do think we will be screwed going forward. Let's say, for instance, I'm not going to try to be the boogeyman or trying to scaremonger anybody, but I do think there will be a situation like, for example, let's say if this turns out to be a Terminator situation where you have to end up fighting the machines or iRobot situation, which dear God, I hope not, right? I hope not, because let's just say if they were to program these bots and they were to tell the robots to destroy humans or whatever, I do think those things can happen. Those things can malfunction and go against its owner and its wishes. But I don't want to be all conspiracy theory and all doom and gloom on that too, because I do think bots serve a good purpose. Because if you look at bots in the history, because there's always been computers that have always done the work for, especially with coding. But I do think coding has its purpose for us humans to start writing. I wouldn't want everything to be reliant on AI all the time, because while I do think that imagery, the things that I've seen on like for photos, for example, those photos are gonna be the way they're experimenting with AI. I think it's really unique, especially how they're doing custom images. It's absolutely cool, but at the same time, I do find the other downfall is that they can use anything with AI and they can easily manipulate the masses, thinking that, oh, this image is real, this image is not. So take a note of that, because you gotta be careful what you see on the internet, and things can be very, very fabricated so fast, and a lot of people will never think twice on this too, because otherwise, if you think that the things that you're seeing on the internet is real, I have to say though, you have to really think again and be careful what you see and read and on the internet, because not always is going to be a real in front of your eyes, because there's going to be stories that the media can make up stuff and you can never know what's real and what's not. So that's my footnote ahead too, because let's just say, for instance, that I would say maybe within a few years or so, if these technocrats or these big tech giants start to use AI to create media stories, where into a point that who knows, maybe journalism will be passed on to robots instead of human writing on a laptop, or back in the day, typewriters. That's where I think we're going to end up looking in and say, man, we're giving way too much power for AI to write media articles, and we're giving them way too much power. Very honestly, I do think that's going to happen, and I think a lot of people will regret that. Say, whoa, I think we're going to need to take a step back on this, because we've gave these robots way too much power than we need. Whoa, 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 slow it down. Now, am I 100% against AI? To a certain degree, yes, I am. But when I was growing up in a time much different than yours, I remember when I used to take tests at school, and I had to go back home, study for the test, and get the best grades that I needed, right? And that's the part of being successful, and especially when you're working on testing. And that's one thing I think it's good to have your brain, and use that brain power to function, because you do need to make sure that you can start doing things that you can do is figure things out and completing things too. Even if you weren't the smartest student in the class, you give it a try, and you work your ass off in studying in that homework or the assignments the day before the test. And I remember that if you want to get your test get that test pass, you have to do it a few days before Friday. And I remember the biggest test days were always Fridays in school, and quizzes will be probably say Wednesday, right? And then Friday, the tests will be on a Friday, and then the teachers will grade them, right? And like I've said before in the last episode, it's like, what happens when you got things running in the background and no one is watching you, and let's say if you're not able to think for yourself, I think there's going to be a lot of issues right there too, because you can't just rely on machines to figure things out for you all the time, because you got more of a crutch or dependency on OpenAI doing all the work for you. And I do think that will come with problems, is that you don't want AI to solve all the problems for you, because otherwise that will turn out bad in the long run as well. Because I know recently I've been going through my own personal time trying to get the stress out from work, and I'm sure you guys may and may not know, I am not moving to Florida, and there are certain reasons why, which I will probably explain it in another episode. But thankfully, I'm not moving to Florida, because I am staying here, and for good reasons. Yes, I'm very, very happy that things have changed for the better, because I know why. But moving on, I want to continue and say that be careful what you use, because if for some reason, if you need to think all these equations for yourself, a math test, history, physics, social studies, whatever, that's not going to help you through, because otherwise, if you rely on something like that, or a computer, otherwise you're just cheating yourself out. Next on this episode, I think we want to go ahead and talk about the main topic of episode 191. And personally, this is a really cool thing I'm talking about this, because the more I read about international travel and places to go, I think that there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be good to said. I know some people may disagree with me on this, but you gotta listen to me on this too, because it is very, very important to have a good understanding of why I do think going out internationally is the best thing. My last blog, talking about my last blog, I've talked about Malta. Now Malta, it seems to be like a growing place for tech entrepreneurs, tech workers out there that's pretty much in the IT field. Now, one thing I can say is that Malta is still behind Now, a Malta is something is not like very tax friendly. I heard, so it is still an expense living in Malta. So just to be aware, because something you guys should be aware when you're going to another country. But I will say that looking elsewhere, my my exploration. I think the biggest thing I've been going over this week, and just looking in this blog. In fact, there's a blogger, blogger slash Twitter user, and I've been going on over in her thread, which I think is absolutely cool. Looking in the what I've been seeing, it's absolutely amazing because a lot of people are not going to go through and think about other countries and have other options. And one of the things when you think about going out of your way and exploring different options in different countries, you want to have more options for yourself. Uh, and to me, I want to say that I think more of a global citizen than a national citizen. And instead of having to be stuck in one country, and to me, you have to have more options. You can't be stuck at one place all the time. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people say that stay where you're at. Bullshit. I say have more options. Go to the places where you want to go. Get yourself places that you want to go and explore and have the best experience of your life. Because honestly, life is too short to stay at one place. Whether you want to work out IT or have a new life elsewhere for to start a family, I think it's one of the best things to do. And one blog. This is coming from the Bitcoin magazine, and the title, which says, this is an opinion piece, of course, so I can't always take everything word by word, but we're gonna go ahead and read the title here, which says, "Leading the Bitcoin Revolution. El Salvador should launch a citizenship by investment program." And then in this article, which it says El Salvador's focus on Bitcoin makes it a natural destination for citizenship by investment, or short for CBI program, drawing more sovereign individuals. So this is really cool, and for me, this is amazing to have options to to go where you are treated best. And Katie the Russian, so she's a very active Twitter user, and so for you guys that don't know, I've been following her for now a couple of months, but I've been going down deep into the travel destination. Even though I don't talk about travel on my show all the time, it's mostly tech talk. But we're gonna get into technology in just a moment here. Why I think this will be best for not just Bitcoin holders, but for investors to grow a country like this. So we're definitely gonna get into it right now. Now, going over in San Salvador's history. Now, it's always had its back then. When I say back then, the countries have always had a pretty much a harsh history of corruption for many years. But as of recent years, especially uh, with the current administration right now, leading by Bukele's administration. And for those that don't know who Bukele, which is the El Salvadorian's administration, or the president of it, which he's a big promoter of Bitcoin. And I would say early 2019 2020, he actually made BTC legal tender in his country. One of the first countries to make Bitcoin legal tender. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people are gonna have a lot of different opinions about Bitcoin, but I have gotta have a lot of good things to say about El Salvador, being being for what it is. I do love the country and the way it's shaping up, and then the way it's changing right now too. And look, I would say throughout what's been happening through El Salvador. And I could tell you just recent things, especially early 21st century. It's had high crime rates and gang related things, but now you're definitely seeing a lot of changes, a lot of changes going forward, especially with the cleaning up the streets with a lot of the gangs that's been happening, and a lot of the crackdowns, especially what's been happening in very recent years. Now, last year, El Salvador has improved so much as of March 25th of 2022, and that's where they've they've cracked down on gangs, and now things are gotten a lot better right now too. And that's what I've been hearing a lot when online, and especially with the current administration, what's been happening. So now it's getting a lot better, you know. And I have someone that I work over at a retail store. He's El Salvadorian. You know, one thing I can say is be proud of being an El Salvadorian, because man, you know it's going to be awesome, especially seeing the shift and changes what's going to happen in El Salvador. And and one of the things I can put out, especially with with Bitcoin. So going on and reading over here on this opinion piece right here. So continue on. It says it's been almost 2 years since the announcement of that El Salvador would make Bitcoin legal tender. Since then, the government of El Salvador, led by President Nabi Bouelki, I don't know if I pronounced the last name correct, but let's continue on, has taken many more steps to attract capital to the country, offering more favorable tax policies, streamlining business regulations, and generally developing a more positive reputation now. But can El Salvador go even further and launch a citizenship by investment, or CBI program for short? For those who don't know, a CBI program allows capitalism to be applied to a government service. In this case, individuals can donate or invest money into the nation's economy, and in return, they receive a passport for that nation. That's pretty cool. That is really, really cool. The Now, going and reading over here, the risk of running CBI programs. El Salvador definitely has the legal authority to operate CBI program. However, launching one can potentially open up a can of worms that it would have to deal with. While leading the way in the Bitcoin revolution, has earned the respect of Bitcoiners. Some group has, such as the IMF, which is International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank, see El Salvador's Bitcoin adoption as a threat and have the public expressed their concerns. The same could be true for the CBI program. El Salvador's passport is already powerful, providing visa-free or visa-on-arrival access to about 150 countries, including the EU, the UK, all of Latin America, and most of Eastern Europe. However, all of these relationships could be at risk if a CBI program caused concerns within the countries that have treaties with El Salvador. Pressure from political allies has pushed previously popular investments immigration options such as those in Cyprus, Malta, and Portugal to rethink their offerings. As a result, these countries miss unique opportunities to serve as pioneers and create fully integrated customer-centric instruments. Whew. So there's a lot to go through. And then let me go and comment one thing about the CBI program, which I do believe that this should be implemented. Exactly. To me, having a citizenship by investment program will open a lot of doors for people that wants become a citizen of El Salvador. Now, why I say that? Because for one, this will bring a lot more growth to the country. And also, as I myself, not just a Bitcoiner, but a cryptocurrency guy that definitely enjoys following up on cryptocurrencies and what's been going on. Now, recently, Bitcoin has gone up quite a bit, so there's a positive sign for that too. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people are going to say, well, El Salvador, why even El Salvador for to go over there too? Because for one, if you see something that's going to grow, uh, and there are a lot of positive things are shifting to El Salvador, a lot of things are happening. I do think that you want to invest in a country that is growing, and especially there's not a lot of regulations that are being pushed down into people's throats. And I want to definitely expand this much clearly because I, for one, can see so much more. And right now, way I see this because you got other people are going through other countries, especially with the Caribbean passports and many other passports and many other options for tech entrepreneurs, investors are going through other countries. Personally, as of I find El Salvador very special. Now, if the CBI program is implemented right, let's just say that is implemented right, I would like to look over there and have more options and get a be a citizen of El Salvador and put my time on that country and put all my investments over there too. Now, I wouldn't want to focus on just El Salvador because if you want to be a global citizen, you have to have a lot more options because at least with more options have to travel around, you got other passports that you can places to go through and do just that. Because honestly, we definitely need more options because the way the United States is becoming over time, and I don't want to say this to upset any of my American viewers, UK viewers, anyone that lives in the first world, not to tear anyone down, but you look at the U.S., but man, the U.S. it's just getting darker and darker. And one thing I say about the United States, I think a lot of people nickname the United States the DSA, Divided States of America, or the USS of A, for a good reason because United States is not free what people perceive it to be free. And if you want to start a business in the United States, you have to go ahead and report a lot of your earnings to the government, and there's a lot of bureaucracy that goes on in the United States. And I know that I can say for one is that if it was me in anyone's position, I wouldn't want to start a business here in the United States. And to me, that gives a lot more options for me to say, you know what, let's get out, let's explore, because I want to see something that I can do to change myself, and I want more options in my hands, instead of having to stay in one place forever. Because honestly, we cannot just stay in one place forever and expect things to change by putting down or casting down your votes. Forget about it. You do not want to go and do that. I think it's ridiculous to start going to the voting booth and wait in a big ass line and expect that any of these two major parties will do any changes. Absolutely not. Please proceed with life and improve on yourself as a individual. You want to have sovereignty, and that's what I want to see. And also just a free individual that want to see and improve myself, but I want to have options as a tech guy that wants to go out and explore different things. Because honestly, this will bring tech innovation to El Salvador. Not just things I've seen in other parts of the countries, because you got other tech options that are growing. And I do hope that one day I can write a blog about El Salvador, about 5 things or 10 things why I like about the country. Because honestly, if you look at El Salvador, it definitely has a rich history for over 500 years. It's quite interesting, very, very interesting, rich culture. And I want to go ahead and read the Twitter threads from Katie the Russian, which she says this, and I actually happen to agree with this too, even though the article that she wrote there is an opinion piece, of course. Now, what she says over here is, can El Salvador launch a citizenship by investment program? Why and how could this be implemented? TLDR of my latest article on Bitcoin Magazine, and which I've already read to you already, which I will have the link down below on the podcast description so you can read it yourself. And here it says on the second thread, El Salvador has taken huge steps towards attracting capital to the country, including making Bitcoin legal tender and changing their tax policies, which is actually a step up. So that way it will attract other people to move into a place out like El Salvador. And God knows if not just El Salvador in doing this, imagine any of the Central American countries seeing what El Salvador is doing. Let's just see if those changes will be implemented, and plus it will bring a lot more people and be a big attraction to it. So we'll see. Third trend on the Twitter thread, which says here, a CBI program allows individuals to donate or invest money in a country's economy in exchange for a passport, while El Salvador has the legal authority to operate CBI program. There are potential risks, including concerns from organizations such as the MIF and the World Bank, which I've read already. And then she goes on saying, El Salvador's passport is powerful. Visa-free or visa on arrival, accessing to about 150 countries, including the EU and UK and most of Eastern Europe. However, a CBI program could potentially put these relationships at risk if concerns arise among treaty countries. And then reading on forward, it says, despite the risks, a well-implemented CBI program could be a game changer for El Salvador. In my opinion, they could easily win the market over Caribbean CBIs by allowing donations in Bitcoin, investments in Bitcoin demonstrated bonds, or denominated bonds, and accepting Bitcoin as source and proof of funds. So that's actually pretty cool, and let's see if that goes through. Now, what trend we're looking over here too? Oh, trend number 6: CBI programs bring power back to the individual. This program is pure capitalism applied to government services, allowing individuals to choose their state service provider based on the prices offered and take their funds with them. And last but not least, so she wants anyone to read her article, which to me, I definitely recommend checking this article out because I do think it's awesome. It's a well written article. However, I'm sure that everybody has their opinions on the CBI programs, but I do think citizenship by investment is very, very powerful to go by, because for one, I like to see a CBI going through, which is amazing because there are countries that provide a CBI program, for instance, too. And if I'm not mistaken, if it's not CBI by investment, and guess what? I think there are other options to be a citizenship, but I think there are other applications and laws and rules on how to be a citizenship in each country. But again, I'm not an expert, but there are so many blogs out there that talks about that too. And to me, as a crypto guy in a Bitcoiner that I've been in Bitcoin and being involved in Bitcoin since 2013, and what I can say about this is that this is really powerful, because this will not also hurt the U.S. Dominance of the dollar. I do think this will be a game changer for sure. So, guys, I'm going to tell you what, you better be careful, because this is going to be very, very different from what we've seen before, and I do think that it's going to be powerful, no doubt. But anyways, don't want to go and ramble too much on this, because honestly though, I wanted to do a YouTube video talking about this, but I knew moving on forward, I do think I would have had done a lot of editing talking about this subject, which to me, not I'm not the biggest camera guy, but I figured, you know what, let me go and talk about this in audio because I'm much more comfortable having to do this on audio instead of going through having my face up on YouTube all the time. But hey, that's just preference on me. But anyways, let me know what you think. If you're a Bitcoin holder that has some Bitcoin, do let me know. I am actually interested. If you guys are interested in what you've just heard today too. Now, if there are countries similar to this, again, like I've said, I'm not an expert on this. I do think Bitcoin is there's going to be a lot of Bitcoiners out there that are going to have their eyes on El Salvador and eyes on pretty much on big growing developing countries are going to start following suit on this because when you have innovation and capital, I do think that this will become a big game changer for everyone. You have to understand because you got to bring you if you want to bring people over to a country like El Salvador, which personally you need to have a positive change to a country. And to me, I look at, and this is the way I look at it. The way I look at this is that I don't see the first world as being very cozy and nice. And now you see third worlds are doing a lot better. But except I don't want to reference Central Americans as this third world dump, like what a lot of people said. Plus, if you got positive change, it will become a huge improvement and big stride on a country alone. And especially, even though I will say that it's neighboring countries like Honduras and Guatemala and Costa Rica, sure, they have their own sets of problems, but you have to look at it this way. If you know that it's going to bring not just tourism, but you're going to bring a lot of people in to live in a country like this to be prosperous, and also it's going to bring a lot of growth technologically. And I 100% guarantee that probably within the next 5 years, when people start to discover countries like this, it will happen. It will definitely happen because I know for sure that if it was me, I want a more positive change in my life. And this is it right there too. And I tweeted this recently that said, the more I read into El Salvador, the better I am saving for my future. And that's where I'm headed. Thankfully, it is time to continue on and start getting ready for the positive things that are happening right now at this moment in time. So to me, I'm ready. Guaranteed right there too. So guys, let me know down in the comments. I will see about working on getting this a podcast posted up on YouTube so you guys can comment on what I've had to say. But with that further said, thank you so much for taking the time to listen on the Leon the Great podcast, episode 191 of the Leon the Great podcast. Hope to see all your comments soon. Take care, guys, and ciao.